Okay. And like I said, if you can turn your cameras on, will you please do that since this is a leader Zoom? That way I can see your faces. I like this Zoom so much. It's actually my favorite of the team because it's like a huddle since it's just like all of us instead of like everybody. It's more intimate, I guess. So I love the Zoom for that reason and to see all of your faces. And we get to be more real, I feel like. Okay. So let's just go down the list of questions that y'all had. All right. The first one was, I'd love to hear about working through anxiety, no matter the cause of the anxiety. So I know you can drop a 1 in the chat if you struggle with anxiety, and it's okay if you don't. It's great if you don't. If you do struggle with anxiety, you're not alone. So that's why I want you to put a 1 in the chat, because I feel like that's like a really bad thing that's kind of like plaguing most people at this point. So I know I'm very open about it. I struggle with anxiety too. I struggle with OCD, and I also am overcoming like stress addiction, like always stressed out and never know why. But one thing that helps me with my anxiety is, number one, the way I start my day is 100% determines how my day goes. Like if I start my day off like jumping into whatever it is that I have to do and just kind of like not taking care of myself, and I'll explain what I mean by that because it's not just self-development, but if I don't take care of me, then I really feel anxious for the whole entire day. It really affects how I am. So one thing that I do for anxiety is I wake up and I have a routine. And what that looks like for me is I actually get ready. And I know that seems really silly, but whenever I get ready, I feel like I accomplish more. I feel like I'm more in control. I also, which anxiety, a lot of that stems from a lack of control. Like a lot of people are like, I feel like I can't control this. And that's where my anxiety stems from. For me, that's where it comes from. So for me, I like to just feel like I'm in control by getting ready. I feel more like a CEO. I feel more like a boss than somebody, like whenever I'm just like working in pajamas. So that actually does help me a lot. When I get ready, I show up differently. I'm a little bit more put together. I get more done and I feel more in control. So that helps me a lot. And then after that, y'all know I do self-development. You know, I journal, I do my affirmations, and affirmations have changed the game for my anxiety. And the reason why is because anything that I feel anxious about, my affirmations are literally just the opposite of that thought. So if I have the thought, which I do all the time, guys, I just don't tell you about this because you're my downline, but I have thoughts like, am I going to hit the volume that I need for ambassador? Am I like, are people on my team enrolling? Is everything a dumpster fire? And did everyone quit because I took a Sabbath? Like I have those thoughts too. Like when we came back from Nashville, me and Shay were like, we posted something in our chats. If you're in our Ruby and Emerald chat, I was like, where are you, Marco? I posted 3 exciting things in here and no one said anything. Did everyone quit? Do I have a team? Okay, so I struggle with those things too. So I will write things down in my affirmations like, my team is mass enrolling. I enroll mass enrollers. My team is dedicated. They're disciplined. They're self-sufficient, because I don't want to feel like I have to be there all the time 24/7. So I just claim that. I speak that into existence, what is not as if it were. And so I think that me getting ready, showing up as my best self, and guys, you can be ready in a comfy outfit. Like I have sweats and a sweatshirt on with like sweatpants, but like I'll halfway do my hair. Like it's curled from 3 days ago. You can't tell because I worked out, but this morning it was kind of curled. And then I just put some dry shampoo in. I washed my face. I put a little blush on and I was ready to go. I didn't have a lot of time this morning to get ready because I had so much to accomplish. So it doesn't have to be full hair, full makeup, in a dress, sitting at your desk, okay? I want you to realize that you can do a little bit in between and just get yourself together. Like what I'm saying is like, don't roll out of the bed with like crusties all over your eyeballs and like try to start messaging like this. Like that's, you're going to have anxiety if that's something that you struggle with. And so writing those affirmations is huge. And you're going to find that, like, for me, my affirmations are kind of the same. They have the same flow and they're similar a lot of the time, but I also have very different affirmations that I write down that are just based on where I'm at in my life right now, that are based on what I'm struggling with that week. So that's something that helps me with my anxiety. And the other thing too is just mentally, I realize like whether I have anxiety or not, like the water plant or like the power plant where I have to pay my electric bill, they're not like, oh, Morgan has anxiety this week, so let's not send her a bill for her electricity. Okay, I know that seems harsh, but like they don't give two flying flips at the mortgage company if I have anxiety or not. Like my bills are still gonna come. And so I have to push through knowing that if I'm gonna overcome this, I can't wait to be better, to start working. Like I have to work in the midst of that because people depend on me. People are counting on me. The person who asked this question's a mom. Your son's depending on you. You know, like you have husbands, you have families, you have fiancés, boyfriends, you're depending on yourself. Like you live by yourself. Like you have things that have to get done. And so it's one of those things that we tell our new distributors, like, don't work based on how you feel, work based on what you want. And that doesn't just come with like, oh, I didn't sign a DT today. It comes with anxiety too. I have to work based on what I want, not how I feel. And on those days that I feel anxious, I try to take control as much as possible. And I know that not everybody has that like desire for control. I don't know like who you like, whatever, like if what your desire is and like what makes you feel better. But for me, whenever my anxiety starts to take over, if I can gain control of something, that's what I do. And so for me, for my anxiety, I try to get like, if it's in the business, I'll set up more coaching calls. Last night, I was like, I haven't heard from some of my leaders in a while. So I sent a couple of you like just messages like, I love you, I'm proud of you, you know, all different things, just very intentionally like for each of you. But I was like, that makes me feel like I'm in control. Because if I don't hear from you, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm anxious because I haven't heard from my team. That's on me. What can I do to take control of that? And so same thing with my new distributors. I text them every day because I want to have control. I never feel anxious about my new distributors because they either will or they won't. And I know that I've done everything that I can to help them. And so if this just isn't for them, then it just isn't for them. But it's not because I didn't help them. And so whenever they do quit, I don't have anxiety over it because I'm like, well, I did all I could humanly possible and I can do anything, but I can't do everything. So it is what it is. You bless and release. Does that help? Put a 2 in the chat if you're like, okay, I never thought of some of that. Because some of this I feel like is really surface level and like very like obvious to me. So hopefully that helps. I don't know if that's helpful. Okay, good. All right, so I can say more on that if you need me to at the end if we have time. All right, the next thing is I would like to hear how to tell a DT something that they might not like to hear, but it's needed. I'm a red, but I'm a yellow too, and yellow sometimes makes me draw back without confronting people. Okay, so I do not struggle with confronting people. Let's just put that out there, okay? Some of y'all know that. Like, I don't really have a hard time with that because here's what I know. The most loving thing you can do is to help somebody be the best version of themselves that they can be. And a lot of times that's going to be a hard conversation. And so I want you as a yellow to take the word confrontation out of your vocabulary, because confrontation immediately makes you feel like you're like coming at them like this, right? Like you're not, you know, like sword, shield, like all the things. You don't have to do that. It's not like, oh, just let them run me over with their car or go at them with like a sword. Like there's a middle ground where you can say, hey, I love you enough to tell you that I see some things in you where we can grow in that. And so I'll give you some examples of what that might look like. But Regina, with you, I think you're a primary red and a secondary yellow, which means that you're going to talk yellow. You're going to think red, but you're going to speak yellow. And that's what you're talking about, where you're struggling with the conversations and having those crucial conversations. Maybe change your confrontation to crucial conversations and call them that instead, because it is necessary. And it's necessary for their growth and necessary for your growth. And so whenever I'm talking to somebody about something that needs to happen, I just remind myself, if I didn't love them, I wouldn't talk to them about this. If I didn't care, I would just let it go. It's like whenever you were a kid, like, I don't know about y'all, and I know everybody kind of grew up differently, but my parents had a lot of rules. Like they had a lot of rules. I got grounded, you know, all the things. And I was like, y'all hate me. Like, you just do this because you hate me, right? They're like, if we didn't love you, we would let you do whatever you wanted to do. But we love you enough to set boundaries for you. And it's kind of the same thing in leadership, where we see more than what they see. We see things that they don't understand. And so you're having those crucial conversations to set boundaries or to call them higher. I'm thankful for conversations that people have had with me, and it's usually been like sidelines, like Kelsey, who said, hey, dude, no, like this isn't meant for you. Like you're meant for more than this and what you've been giving, and you need to get your order right. And we had that conversation in 2019, and I'm thankful for those crucial conversations because I know her heart isn't to be malicious. I know that her heart isn't to hurt my feelings. Her heart is to help me. So I walked away from that conversation, and it was a turning point in my business. It was a change. Like literally I can look back at that moment and say, that's when things started to become better. That's when I started to become better. And so you have the opportunity as a leader to be that for someone else, but you have to be willing to have those crucial conversations. So one thing that will help you if you're a yellow and you struggle with having these conversations because you feel like you're going to be doing this the whole time and you're going to sound like this, number one, meet them where they're at. And we'll talk a little bit about this later in questions that I think Macy asked, but meet them where they're at, love on them, know their color personalities, and be familiar with the color personalities. And that's what's helped me have these crucial conversations, because I feel really self-aware, but also aware of their feelings and how they receive things so that I can speak to them in their language. Right? So even if you're saying all the right things, but you're speaking Chinese to somebody that's from France, they're still not going to understand what you're saying. So, but if you can speak French to someone in France, no matter what you say, they're going to understand you. And so you have to remember that the conversation needs to be had in one way that I usually will go about it, especially if I'm like timid, because there are some people that they'll intimidate me. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to say anything. It's fine. Just kill me with your car. I don't care. But one thing that helped me was making it like somebody else told me this. So I'll say like, oh my gosh, like if somebody's like, oh, I can't do this, or like, oh, they're making excuses. I'll say something, and I think I said this last week or whatever, maybe the week before. But I'll usually say something like, I understand where you're coming from, because I was like that too, and I struggled with that too. And one thing that Susan told me a long time ago whenever I first started this business is that you're never going to regret the work that you put in. You're always going to regret the work that you don't do. Yeah, on the coffee chat. So you can talk about it. You're telling them, but you can say, oh my gosh, so-and-so told me this, and that helped me a ton. I'm not sure. Maybe that'll help you too. What do you think? You in a roundabout way just told them what to do, but you didn't say it like this. Does that make sense? Does that help? Rachel said she blames you all the time, and that's fine. You can even be like, hey, Morgan told me this and it helped me a ton. So put a 2 in the chat if that helps anybody, just so that I know I'm on the right track. And also I like words of affirmation. Okay. I'm gonna read what Tara said. Normally I tell people to say it nicer, but not you. Even with being yellow, most of the things that we say sounds horribly harsh in our heads. Most people won't usually hear it the same way. Yeah, because so Tara's, what she's saying is like, she'll tell me, she's like, I'm afraid to talk to them like this. And I'm like, but the way you say it as a yellow is automatically going to come off like just a sweetness. Like, like they're not going to take it and perceive it as this like harsh criticism. And again, this is where it's so important to have that relationship with them. And I know Rachel asked about leader versus friend, and we'll talk about that too, but this is where that comes in, where like I am friends with all of you. Like I talk to you on a personal level. Like I know a lot about each of your lives, I would say. And so whenever I come to you, I can even be very direct. Like I don't have to do the BS crap like oh, Susan told me this. Like, no, I can say like, dude, pull your pants up, let's go. You need to get it together. Come on now. I believe in you. You're better than that, because we have that relationship. And my heart is not to be malicious, but I'm also not just going to run you over with the bulldozer because I can. Okay, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to come at you kindly, and I'm going to explain why. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is if you can tell them why, they're going to understand your heart behind that, even if they don't really know you very well. And I'm going to give an example of a conversation that I had with a distributor today, or I think it was last night. That might help some of you too with kind of like what to say. Okay. Yes. And I got that from Kelsey, the you think red but speak yellow thing. I didn't know that, but I learned that from Kelsey. Okay. having a hard time meeting my DTs where they're at. And I kind of talked about this too, but I have a conversation I can share with y'all now. Becca said, I work my business hard and I pour into my team a lot. And some days it's hard whenever I don't get much back from them and I'm not setting expectations for them. I just get discouraged when I put in so much work and effort into them, but I don't see them pouring in the work and it frustrates me. So here's a couple things I want to add to what I said. So if you missed it in the chat, I'll say it again. I said, you also have to remember that it's not going to be a 50-50 relationship as a leader. You're always going to give more than what you're getting back. And that's why it's important to pour into yourself. I never expect my team to return back to me what I gave them, because that's just not where they're at. And that's just not what's going to happen. It's going to be a lot of me pouring into people and getting nothing back. But as a leader, the more consistently you pour into people, the more you'll find the ones who do want to work. In the process, you're going to learn a lot from the ones who don't give anything back. It's really early. Oh, and I haven't finished my coffee. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, that's what I said. So one thing that I struggled with this a lot at the beginning of my business because I had a team that literally no one on it worked. Macy can attest to this because she's one of the few standing, and she knows what it was like back in 2016, 2017. Like, it was rough times, man. We didn't know if we were going to make it, but here we are. So one thing I want you to know is that you're always going to be the hardest worker on your team. And if you're not, then that's a problem. Okay, I'm going to say that again. If you feel like you're working the hardest on your team, good. Being a leader. Okay? Because I always feel like I'm working the hardest. Because that's why leaders have broad shoulders and strong backs, because we carry the most load. We carry everything for our team, not only the responsibilities and the duties, but we also carry the weight of their emotional states. So whenever they're struggling with something, we carry that too. We always are throwing stuff on our backs, but we have broad shoulders and strong backs and we can take it. That's why pouring into yourself is super important, so that you can gain those muscles in your back, so you can gain those broad shoulders. But at the same time, we have to remember that your leaders and your runners are coming, but God's looking at you right now and he's like, can you be faithful with the little so that you can be faithful with much? He who can be trusted with a little bit can also be trusted with much. So when I remained faithful, and this is what I firmly believe, because I remained faithful when I had no one working, when I saw no fruit of the labors that I was putting in, I remained faithful every single day to the Lord and to this business, and he blessed that, and now look at us. You know? And so I think that that's a huge portion of it. And the other thing too is, let me reread your question because there was something else I was going to say too. Okay, so I'm not setting expectations for them. I want you to set expectations for them. And here's what that's going to look like. Okay, it's not going to be like, oh, I expect them to sign 82 DTs today. That's not a realistic expectation. I want you to set expectations of them. And what that means is that you stamp a 10 on every person's head that joins your team. And you look at them and say, you are my next diamond. Because people will rise to the expectations that you set for them. So when you have no expectations for your team, you can't be mad when they meet your expectation, which is nada. Okay? And I know that your heart behind that is to not put pressure on them, but saying, girl, you got this, and I believe in you. That's not putting pressure on them. That's pouring belief into them, and everybody needs that. And so there's a way that you can do this by saying, you know, thinking in your head, this person's going to go diamond. Do you think you're going to show up differently for that person as a leader than you would for somebody that you say, yeah, they're probably just going to quit because everybody on my team does? No expectations because I don't want to be disappointed. You know, whenever people in the world say, hey, don't get your hopes up. Bull crap. Get your hopes up. Get them up really high. Hope for a whole lot. Because if you don't, what do you have to lose? Why wouldn't you hope? Why would you not? It's biblical to hope. Do it. Get your hopes up. Get them all the way up. Because the only way that I'm going to be disappointed is if I don't get my hopes up and I settle for less than my best and what God called me to be. But if I can get my hopes up, then I'm going to work a little bit harder. And even if I fall a little bit short, I'm closer than I used to be. So get your expectations up. Stamp a 10 on their forehead. Say, you are my next leader. You are my next rock star. I'm trying to think if that was all I was going to say on that. Yeah, I think that was it. Put a 2 in the chat if that helped. Okay, next question. Let's see. I don't want to miss any. Sorry. Okay. How often do you do contests with your teams and how to apply different colors to them? So I don't have a whole lot to say on this. I try not to have too many contests going on at once. Also the sweatshirt thing, my assistant's on that. I didn't forget, just so you know, I thought I would say that while we're on here. I did not forget about the sweatshirt thing. But I try not to have too many contests because it creates confusion. We always know, like, a confused mind says no, and that's not with just potentials, it's with anybody. So if they're confused, they're going to say no. So I try to keep it very streamlined. If the company's having something going on right now, like the drawings that they're doing for your lifetime rank, I'm really talking about that versus having my own to distract them from what they could be earning. So that's one thing. And then as far as the colors, the only thing that I really try to do is, number one, I give a lot of details. I try to anyway with the contest because the greens like that. Contests are just fun in general for blues because they love to, like, win things. They love to have a goal to shoot for that's not necessarily money. They just like to win. Reds, just a contest, you give it to them, they're good to go. The only thing is the yellows, and I like to do it for I try to do like multiple winners when I can, and I also try not to do the highest enrollments. I always try to make it a drawing so that everyone has equal opportunity and no one feels like they're already out immediately before they even get started with the contest. Okay. And then all the reds started commenting. There was something else too. Hang on. I know there were more. Okay. I wouldn't mind hearing some tips on how to get real with some people in a professional but stern way. I'm honestly way too yellow when it comes to this. I just say, I understand, but in reality, I don't, and I'm frustrated. I feel like I have some people on my team who are rising leaders in the leader roles who continually make excuses, and I literally don't know what else to say to them. So how to work with that? Okay. One thing I want you to remember is fire burns from the bottom. You're going to see me spend the majority of my time with newbies. Why? Because all of y'all were newbies at one point, and you grew to this point. Like, I don't talk to Macy as much as I talk to my rising rubies because I know Macy's kind of got it. And if she doesn't got it, I'm going to empower her to try to do things that are going to help her to get it, to tell her that I believe in her, to make sure that she's doing the things that she needs to do. But at a certain point, if you're sitting there asking, do you have your chart out? Do you have it updated? And they're giving you excuses, maybe you're basing their leadership off of what they say they want and not what they're actually doing. I'm going to say that again. Because some of you are telling me, oh my gosh, this person's a rock star. This person's incredible. I love this person. They're incredible. But it's because of the potential that you see in them, which is not a bad thing, but you have to base your judgment on that person on what they're doing, not what they say that they want to do. So there's the disconnect too, I think, is that you're calling leaders that aren't actually leaders. And I think that's where a lot of your frustration is coming in. I would also say, again, fire burns from the bottom. So I don't spend as much time training you, coaching you, asking you, do you have your chart? Do you have this? Unless it's like, hey, do you have your chart? Send it to me. I need to update mine. I'm spending time with the people that are wanting this, that actually care. And if you don't show up to the leader Zoom, okay, then don't show up to the leader Zoom. Don't. That's fine. Because I have rising leaders that are going to take your place. And I don't say that in like a, you can be replaced, like whatever type of thing, like you're out. It's not like that. But my team's going somewhere. Like we're headed to we know where we're going. We have a destination. We're going in a certain direction. You're coming or you're not. But I'm not slowing down for you. I'm not going to sit here and beg you for a chart when you're telling me you're going double diamond, triple diamond, presidential. Bump that. I'll switch to somebody else. And I don't mind doing that. And so I think that whenever you're working with the ones who really want this, you always stay more encouraged because you're working with people who are excited. And that may be your leaders and it might be the newbies, but you've got to work with your new distributors, teach them to go Ruby. That stuff can happen really quickly. And when you start to really focus your time and attention on them, you're going to see rubies pop more frequently and you're going to see new leaders start to rise up in your organization. Put a 2 in the chat if that was helpful. Okay. I'm trying to like get through all of them. Okay, the only other thing I was going to say, hang on, let me find Rachel Simpson's because I know that she had asked something. I read it, but I can't find it. Hang on 1 second. I think. Mm. Oh,
It was right under Macy's.
oh, okay. What? Oh, really? What the heck? Okay, well, she just put it in the chat. So, how to be a leader and a friend. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, I think this one's hard. And I sometimes you'll want to be a friend more than a leader. Like it's one of those things. I think about it like this. It's like a parent. When you're a kid, they're your mom. They will tell you what to do. They will ground your butt. They will like they're your mom. But then you turn 18 and it's kind of at the point where you're more of a friend and like a best friend than you are a parent. Like they're not going to tell you that you can't leave the house or ask when you're coming home because they trust that they've raised you to the point where you can now be on your own and make your own decisions, and that you're going to have those times where you get to spread your wings and that you're going to make the right decision. So I don't know if that helps, but whenever I think of people like that are on my team in my downline, like I'm always their leader first, always. And it doesn't mean that I don't have their friendship. And some leaders will disagree with me on this, but I think it's important to have that distinction, because otherwise the lines get very blurred and gray and muddy, and that's where the hard conversations become even harder. Where you're like, oh, but they're my best friend now, and then but also I need to tell them that they're not really showing up, and so that helps a little bit. And then whenever they're newbies, yeah, that's kind of what I do. So that helps me a lot with just remembering, like, I am their leader. They didn't join me to have a friend. They will get that from me as well, of course. Like, we're going to be friends, but they joined me because they wanted to change their life. And I'm doing them a disservice if I just try to be buddy with them instead of helping them really change their life and calling them higher. The last thing I wanted to share too, put a 2 in the chat if that was a little helpful. Let's see. Okay. Let me see. This girl. Oh, sorry, I forgot her name. Okay. One of my new DTs. Oh, shoot. I gotta turn my phone off and turn it back on. Crap. Okay, well, one of my new distributors, I'll try to make it quick because my phone's broken. So if you didn't know. One of my new distributors, she messaged me the other day and she was like, she's killing it. And she told me, she was like, I'm struggling with life and family stuff and whatever. And like, I just really don't think I can do this anymore, blah, 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 blah. So I know a lot of y'all had questions on the group me in regards to like having tough conversations. How do I know when to say I understand, but I don't actually understand, and like want to tell them to just like get it together and like tell them what they need to do, but like also be nice about it, not just tell them to get over it, but also be their leader and not just their friend, but also be their friend and not just their leader. And like, how do I do both, and like meshing the two? I'm also buying time because it's trying to turn back on, but I'm going to go to my text messages really quick and I'm going to tell you what I said to her, and maybe this will help. And I can even send like the message if it'll send, or screenshot or something in the group me to kind of show you how I handled this. And not because I think I handled it perfectly, but because I think that it worked. She's back. She was like, I'm going to give this a shot. So it worked with her. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so she said she hadn't texted me back in a couple of days. It had been like Thursday that she had texted me back. And so then I said, did you get a chance to watch the follow-up method video? She said, I'm going, like 8 hours later, I'm going through some stuff right now, so I'm going to hold off on my training. Can I start back in a month? I have some personal things going on right now. I'm sorry. I said, hey girl, I'm so sorry to hear that. I have no idea what you're going through, but I hope that everything is okay. And I want you to know that I totally understand what that feels like, to be going through a lot of things in your personal life. I've gone through so many things in this business because I've been here for 6 years. My papa has died while I've been in this business. My husband's papa and uncle have died while I was in this business. I moved 3 times. I planned a wedding, got married, had a miscarriage, all during this business. And life is so tough. But one thing that I'll tell you is that this group of people in this community here at It Works has been the rock that I've clung to throughout the midst of the hard things that I've struggled with. When I had my miscarriage, the CEO of this company was the first one to send me flowers, and his daughter was the first to ask me if I was okay and call me. When I lost my papa, my team checked on me every single day. When I got married, my maid of honor was someone that I met through this business. So while I understand that it feels like you can't continue with this business right now, that you need to put it on pause, I want to encourage you to do what I did and stick it out and to find a way to work this business through the midst of the chaos, because there's always going to be something going on in your life that's not ideal. And I can help you find a way to still fit this business in, because at the end of the day, even though life circumstances are going on around you, you do, going on around you, the reason why you joined this business never changes. I know that you still want the same things that you joined this business to do, and I don't want to see you give that up because something else is happening externally. I don't say any of this to discount what you've been going through, but to encourage you that this is the best place to be in the midst of whatever it is that you're going through. I also know that consistency is the key to being successful in this business, and I'd hate for you to come back in a month and have to start from scratch after everything that you've built and that you have with your followers, and that they notice that you took a hiatus. It's going to be a lot harder to come back than it would to be just to continue and fight through your 100%, even though your 100% right now doesn't look like your 100% last week. Are you willing to give this a shot through the midst of the things that you're going through? I'm happy to meet you where you're at. That's what I said. And she said, I'm willing to give it a shot. Like, let's do this, and sent me a screenshot. So I don't know if that helps, but like, that's just kind of like what I did to like meet her where she's at. But I told her, no, like, you got to stick this out. I explained the like emotional part of it. And I also explained, like, from a business standpoint, you can't take a 1 month hiatus and come back and think you're going to do really well. And I know that she probably won't. So anyway, I just encouraged her with that, and hopefully we'll see what happens from here. But I know we're behind, so we're going to jump on the other Zoom. I hope this was helpful. Love you guys. Bye.